You know the Heat are 10th in the NBA in differential? They're 10th in the NBA in differential. They have a ton of single-digit losses. They've played without several players for a whole chunk of the season. I'm just trying to say that maybe they could be the 6th seed, which would be cool to not see them in the play-in. And I don't know, we spent the last several days complaining about every franchise in the league tanking. And while I can understand looking at what happened with the Dallas Mavericks and saying, oh, but the Heat could have gotten lucky with a lottery pick and maybe they'd like, that's not really normally how it works.
That was better. You didn't sound as broken there.
I'm sorry, but all right.
It literally happened.
I'm going to try my hardest here to not sound like an ass, which is really hard for me. All right? Really hard.
Yeah.
But you see teams like Indiana. You see teams like San Antonio. You see teams like OKC. Like, get it out of your head that tanking doesn't work. It does.
No, so that's not the point.
When I make the effort to not sound like an ass, I like to not be interrupted. Please. Please. All right? I'm just done hearing about a 2023. Leo Messi wasn't on Inter Miami the last time the Miami Heat made the NBA Finals. It was a different world back then. You keep holding that up, and yet the Dallas Mavericks made it to the Finals, and 6 months later traded their franchise player, tanked, got the best. Well, they tanked because the trade was a disaster, and got Cooper Flagg, who was Miami's pick. They got Miami's pick. It would have worked.
Mike,
like, you can turn this around so quickly in this league.
I cannot use Dallas as the example that Miami should be aspiring to, given what it is that Nico Harrison did to their franchise and how the howling around the Dallas Mavericks when they traded Luka is louder than any howling that's ever been around the Heat fan base.
But Dan, they got the pick, right? 2-3 years ago, I said tank for Wembanyama. There was
and then they went to the finals.
Okay,
stop saying they got lucky.
Matter.
Everybody that wins a lottery gets lucky. Like the team with the best odds have like 23% chances. Like
I'm just asking.
It's a lottery.
The question that I have is like, it's really easy for the Heat fan base in particular, a franchise that has never had to go through what a tank and a rebuild is. They've gone through basically since Pat Riley got here 30 years ago. Maybe 2 or 3 individual seasons where they were one of the worst teams in the league. And then immediately we're back to competing. Do you want to go through watching season after season after season of being bad to collect those players? The answer is no.
I'm sorry. You just said it yourself. They had 2 bad years and were back immediately. Do you or do you not have faith in Pat Riley? Because when he's in the lottery, generally, he gets good players and he turns things around. I'm not saying let's be bad for 4 years. That's how bad franchises do it. I say let's be bad the way that the Miami Heat have been bad a couple of seasons, reload, and get a young player that has maximum value that you can maybe even flip to get a whale. But I'm saying stop treading water. It is flatly not working. That is not a debate. That is fact.
I think that another fact is that none of the last 18 champions in the sport have benefited from tanking in any meaningful way. And given that you're saying 2 seasons that end up in the finals, 2 seasons end up in the finals, that's not good enough. If I'm telling you tanking hasn't resulted in a championship in the last 18 years, you come back with it's not good enough to beat Jimmy Butler in the finals twice, then what's tanking actually getting you if it's not getting you that result? It's getting you're no longer a sold-out stadium. You're no longer got the longest streak in the league of the stadium's always filled with people.
I fundamentally disagree. Boston won a championship. They got a bunch of young players by tanking. Oklahoma City is going to be running the sport. Like San Antonio is going to be in that conversation. Yeah, you have outliers like the Miami Heat and the LA Lakers that even the Lakers went through like a minor rebuild like that. It's how the sport is designed. That's why so many teams tank. Because you get a lottery pick, it can change your franchise. Miami has benefited from this. All the people that are arguing don't tank, to me, are just saying, I don't have faith that Pat Riley can fix this with a lottery pick.
Realistically, what Miami's been very comfortable with is shopping in the discount bin and then turning those guys into players that get big contracts somewhere else, right? So you have your base of Max Struess's, Gabe Vincent's, Tyler Johnson's, all these different guys that you make serviceable players, Duncan Robinson's. You make those guys serviceable players for a little bit, and then you ship them off somewhere else and try to redo that. But you can only go to the discount bin so many times, and it worked, Dan.
Well, you say the discount bin, but I think that the way that people get forgetful about whatever it is the evolutions of Pat Riley are supposed to be, Throughout the majority of my career watching this team, he hadn't trusted young players and didn't care about the draft at all. The year they got Wade, he wanted Bosch. They got Wade. They got lucky with Wade. It's the one time they've actually had a pick that can change the franchise like that, and they got lucky. Like the other, Beasley didn't work out the way that was supposed to. So
I guess Justice Winslow didn't work out either.
But that was a 9.
Devin Booker was
that was an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, but
pick.
like when they're in that lottery, like Bam Adebayo was like in that range that they're never really
but
in.
He
and
was
they got
like
him.
12. But this is the thing though about Bam Adebayo. Like to me, the difference between Tatum and Brown in Boston and Bam Adebayo and Hero is where they were drafted. Like the skill sets on Brown and Tatum that's what they become, and the skill sets on Hero and Adebayo that's where they max out. Like middle of the first round is. Hero, what are you shaking your finger about, Jeremy?
Oh no, I'm adding to what you're saying in that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were a result not of tanking, by the way. Those guys were those picks because they acquired them from the Nets. Those are Nets picks. Those are not their picks. And so you have to remember that it's not as simple as, be bad and go through multiple seasons of being bad. Sometimes you have to get lucky that you pull off a heist against, a franchise like Brooklyn that doesn't know how to run itself.
Again, though, I'm just going to say it. There's only one time that the Heat franchise has actually used the best parts of the lottery to get to the championship round. Like, that's not where you got Adebayo. That's not where you got Tyler Hero.
Don't let them forget about the Icon commercial.
Dan, what I found was a GLP-1 commercial, if that's what you were thinking about with Serena. And
all right, you guys can keep talking about
I do have a
Heat.
stat of
I'm
the day.
gonna
We're talking to
find it
Tyler Hero.
myself.
I do have a stat of the day, though.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day.
In the 2025-26 season, the recently fired CP3 has played 16 games. Tyler Hero has played 11 games this season.
Yeah, my father's really mad at Tyler Hero. He calls him an assortment of injured names because he never plays, and when he does play, they haven't been appreciably better when he
El
plays.
Cojo? Does he call him El Cojo?
You need something from him.
It's amazing he's still here. Yeah. We were at the Clevelander saying like, oh man, he's definitely gone, right? He survived the Harden rumors, the Lillard rumors, the Giannis rumors.
That is a frustrating Heat player. Can you help me with the history of where it is that he was drafted? Because I'm doing it off the top of my head, and I don't think I'm doing it very well when it comes to both Bam and Hero. But they're middle of the first round guys, and I've found interesting. Okay, I don't know how the rest of you look at it. Boston's still very good. Boston right now is overachieving. Boston has a model architect in Brad Stevens that's viewed as knowing exactly what to do, not just because he traded for Porzingis and for Drew Holiday and pieces that helped them win a championship, but also because he had the guts to trade Marcus Smart, who was a very popular player, and then they immediately got better. But the starting point on it is we got Jaylen Brown and we got Tatum. These are picks that at any time the skill set when they're running around for scouts is, that's the best guy in this draft. Clearly and obviously, they got two of those, and as they grow, what happens? Bam Adebayo meets him at the rim in the bubble, but as they keep growing, they get better, and they hit their ceiling, which is higher than where Bam Adebayo's ceiling is. When you just measure these things in a camp, Bam Adebayo was viewed as not what Tatum and Brown are. So your best player, your all-star, isn't as good as their all-star. Your Tyler Hero, when we're doing the simple measurements on what are these guys going to be, Brown or Tatum are drafted where you get the immortals. Like, that's where the immortals get picked. And Adebayo and Hero are maxing out their talents.
Both guys 13 and 14th pick, respectively.
The Heat have picked in the top 10 twice since Dwayne Wade. Those players ended up being Michael Beasley, who was selected 7th overall, and Justice Winslow, who was selected 10th. And you have all of these examples. Their last four first-round picks, 5 first-round picks, if you look at it here, where they were picked in like the teens or 20. You have Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr. picked 18th, Khalil Ware at 15th, Kasper Sakachonis, who's a good young point guard at 19. He was picked at 20th. So you have all of these guys that they're able to go find and turn into good players, like in those positions. It doesn't always work out when you pick in the top 5. You can look at the last several drafts.
Sure, but then you turn into a team that is exactly what the Heat are. They're a team of baseline, just okay guys. Everybody's okay. There's no guy that's a superstar. There's no guy that can be that immortal top 5 pick where it's like, oh my God, here it is. Here's the guy that's going to run the league for the next 10 years like those other guys have. It's like you got Jaime, you got Booker, you got Bam, you got Hero, you got Khalil Ware, you got Yakinchona. It's like, okay, they're fine. They're 41-41. That's what the Heat are.
Each of the last 2 seasons, they've had somewhere between $50 and $60 million on the bench for like the entire year. Jimmy Butler didn't play for the overwhelming majority of last season and didn't try when he did. And now this year, you got 11 games out of Tyler Hero who's making $30 million, and Terry Rozier suspended for the season after he missed a bunch of games last year. So while you could talk about like, oh, they can't be that good around Bam Adebayo, if $70 million worth of NBA players was around him that isn't there right now, and you had all of those other good young role players, this team would be better than the 8 seed.
Maybe, because when Tyler Hero was there, it was also frustrating. But he missed the first 17 of the games, offseason ankle surgery, then 13 because of a toe contusion, and now 15 straight because of a rib injury. And you're out there, and now Norm Powell is missing games. And I've got to think, even though I haven't talked to him about it, and I've read some quotes recently where Riley, not unlike Wilbon, just sort of hates today's game, like has had to adapt, but doesn't love the way that everybody is playing basketball. I have to imagine that Pat Riley is a daily kind of depressed about what it is this league has become with guys sitting and him not having the control over being able to get people out there to play 82 games, given the way, the probably inhumane way that he used to practice and people would play through anything. I've got to imagine that wherever it is that your grandpa disconnects from today's kids, today's 20-year-olds, I've got to imagine that Pat Riley watching today's sport is handcuffed because of everything you're saying. They will max out all the Gabe Vincents of the world. They will max out every 12 and 13 pick that they have, and if they get lucky on a Dwayne Wade, they can change their entire franchise, but he can't get everybody to play. Like, it's not one of the reasons I got to think Bam's untouchable is because he just knows he's going to be out there all the time.
Yeah, but look, helpful footnotes here on the Michael Beasley and Justice Winslow stuff. Good points. Devin Booker was there on the board. They went for Justice Winslow, but my point is their assets. All right, Michael Beasley essentially became Mike Miller. Justice Winslow, however big of a disaster you think that pick was, especially with Booker on the board, that turned into Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala, guys that helped make a final for this team that were key additions. They had value. And what I'm saying is when you're floating outside the lottery, it's hard to add pieces that maintain any actual value.
I have a funny story that I think of every time anybody mentions Justice Winslow. Can you guys look up for me, please, what Michael Jordan traded to get ahead of the Heat that year? Because Michael Jordan that year made a trade trying to get ahead of the Heat, thinking that they wanted Frank Kaminsky. And so he drafted Frank Kaminsky when the Heat were always zoned in on Justice Winslow. And Frank Kaminsky, on top of being a funny name and a funny game, also predictably ended up being a cement-footed human being who didn't give them much. But it was something that was laughed about in Heat circles, that franchise owned by Michael Jordan, one of the worst there's ever been, tried to trade up because they thought the Heat was trying to get Frank Kaminsky.
You know who tells that story best? The Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, because they got Desmond.
For all that the New York Knicks fans gave Kristaps Porzingis and the Knicks for that pick at 4, if you look at who was taken after that, Porzingis has actually had the better career out of like a lot of those guys outside of basically only Devin Booker.
So the details there are just slightly off, because what that was that Charlotte was picking 9 that year. The Heat were picking 10. Charlotte was intent on taking Frank Kaminsky and were afraid to trade down because they thought he might get picked before the next pick. They were offered 4 first-round picks by Boston in order to move up to that 9 so that Boston could take Justice Winslow ahead of the Heat because they knew the Heat would take Winslow. And to think about how the fortunes of the Boston Celtics franchise would have changed because I believe some of those picks turned into Tatum and Brown. The picks that they were offering to Charlotte. So Charlotte could have had those guys. The Celtics would have invested everything in Justice Winslow, and we'd be having very different conversations about the Michael Jordan tenure in Charlotte.
I don't think we would have been. I think that
okay.
That's how you handle jack shit.
You got him, Dano.
Again, I could just stop. I could just go.
Samson, okay
I'm
him.
just a freelancer.
Okay.
I wasn't taking that out on you. Michael Jordan was that bad an owner that I don't think that anything that he would have done there would have gotten them out of the morass. I was not condescending your point. I was just disagreeing with the idea that any one draft pick would have undone the many years of incompetence that Michael Jordan had in Charlotte.
I think we fixed it.